Class is dismissed, boys and girls.
You're in. Let's go!
Previously on the YTV Retrospective.
Yo guys, it's me, Charlie. Hey, did that guy just turn into sand?
Yeah, what was that?
Lost media. The result of either mishandling or neglect of said media, physical or otherwise. Many film, television, and print have for one reason or another disappeared, leaving little to no physical evidence of its existence. Another reason could be that said media is so obscure and so little advertised that it never garnered any attention. The only thing that remain of it are accounts of those who have seen it for themselves, and have made sure that they are not forgotten. I'm your host, Imitation Robert Stack, and this is Unsolved YTV Mysteries. Tonight, on Unsolved YTV Mysteries, we take a look at something that I don't think can be replicated on today's screens, as many channels nowadays have ditched most of these practices due to cost-cutting measures, back when channels were introduced by the faces of the people that helped run them.
YTV had many events that were hosted by the faces of the channel, the PJs, but very few would define the channel and how people viewed it, and all of them were in the 90s and early 2000s. The first batch would involve their first puppet helpers in the Grogs, and they were set up in a duology of specials, with the direct-to-video special YTV's Festival of Friends, which had the PJs and Grogs running around Canada's Wonderland, teaching kids about stranger danger, with a concert that would help kids help phone, with acts like Sherry Lewis and Lamb Chop and Kiddio. The Grogs' first Santa Claus parade is the one that we have talked about before, about the Grogs going to Cambridge to find Santa Claus and watch their Santa Claus parade.
Or something like that. Which reminds me, actually.
Quiet!
If I want to spread peanut butter on my body and dance, that's my business.
And all of that led to their eventual departure of the channel and magnum opus, WTV, as Warren Chester Grog, along with Filth, would take over YTV, and it was up to the PJs and the remaining Grogs to get YTV back on the air. This event, while seeing responses for what shows viewers want on WTV and increased viewership, in 1993 it also soured the relationship with YTV and the Grogs creators Jamie Shannon and Jason Hopley, as YTV wanted to merchandise the Grogs and have them as their own intellectual property. So they would depart from YTV at the start of 1994, but would come back with their new series at the time, Nanolan.
Oh, NASA people.
The second would be their Halloween events, which we have discussed before, with the likes of Dark Knight and Halloweird, creating a new scenario each year that would test the limit of fear amongst their viewers, and with shows like Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps at the time, Dark Knight would become a 6-year tradition on Halloween. Halloweird would try and capture that same success, but to some avail.
And today's a bit of a mystery. While most of it is available, we have our who, what, when, where, and whys when it comes to the situation. But one is currently lost, and that is the how. We'll be looking at what may be one of the last few events in this format to air on YTV. And that is the Yokomites invasion.
The event started in February of 2001, as the standard promos were suddenly interrupted with this.
To preserve the balance of the digital world, I protect the Eastern.
This is a YTV announcement regarding the strange interruptions here at the network. These intruders will be severely dealt with upon determination of their demands. This investigation brought to you by Dunkaroos.
What were these bugs? They were known as the Yokomites, electronic insects created by the evil fiendly fowl, and they have taken over the zone in an attempt to change the channel to FFTV, or Fiendly Fowl Television. I wonder if these were based on the idea of the Y2K bug. You know, how all the computers would just stop at a certain year? For this project, YTV purchased the image store system from Britain's Oxtel, which allows the YTV promotion department to plan times for Yokomites to appear, and then animates their behavior in real time at preset attack levels. The bugs will then disrupt the broadcast signal by eating away at the shows. Along with these promos, a contest sponsored by Dunkaroos would be held, and whoever were to spot the Yokomites would be entered to win a shopping spree and a year's supply of Dunkaroos.
Dunkaroos! Cookies! Yeah!
You can
can dive into Dunkaroos, wild cookie shapes, and all the frosting you want.
Oh no, these pesky creatures are still attacking YTV. They seem to be feeding off the sweet frosting and crazy cookie shapes of Dunkaroos. We must fight the Yokomites! They've gone too far. Dunkaroos has posted a reward. If you see this queen Yokomite, tell us where and you could win a toy store shopping spree to your supply of Dunkaroos. Go to YTV.com to enter and keep watching the zone for up-to-the-minute details on the Yokomite attack. We'll get you, you Yokomites!
The real event, with what evidence we can find, may have started on Monday, March 5th, 2001, assuming that these were shown only on weekdays. Unfortunately, we don't have any footage of the situation for the first week of the event, but we have a description thanks to YTV.com through the web archive. It also contained lots of information about the event, including an x-ray of a Yokomite, the professor's handbook, a bio of the Queen Yokomite, and a comic book, which we can't access for reasons we will explain later. Pat hears strange noises, and Jenny thinks he is going crazy. Jenny finally hears the sounds that Pat keeps hearing. At the end of the day, the camera picks up some sort of creature behind the wall. Pat and Jenny receive lots of emails from viewers that have seen weird creatures and heard sounds during YTV programming. Suddenly, a brave Jenny sees one of these bugs crawling on the floor and quickly squashes it. A closer look at the squashed bug reveals that there is a mini-disc hidden inside. Yesterday, Pat and Jenny found a mini-disc inside the squashed bug. While reading viewer mail, Pat finds a strange envelope containing a mini-disc player. Using the discophone, Pat and Jenny hear a disturbing message from a guy named Fiendly Fowl, who wants to take over YTV. Jenny wonders what to do about these bugs. She's afraid and confused and asks for the viewer's help. Will Fiendly Fowl take over YTV? Pat desperately looks for his number. Before Jenny leaves to interview Aaron Carter, Pat reads a mysterious email from someone who may know what is going on. He said he would call. Pat and Jenny get a phone call from a very strange man named Professor Redundant. Pat tells him of the strange bug and the mini-disc that they found inside it. Pat and Jenny play the mini-disc for the professor, and he confirms that Fiendly Fowl is a force to be reckoned with. With his mom's permission, the professor agrees to meet with Pat and Jenny to take a closer look. The footage we do have starts on day 6, Monday, March 12th, 2001, which was March break. After an episode of Digimon, we see Jenny Rascott taking Pat Kelly, the two current zone hosts at the time, to see a doctor named Professor Edward R. Redundant, as he was bitten by a Yokomite, in which Pat dismisses how serious of a threat they could be.
All of us are feeling a little stressed out about this situation, especially you, Pat, with the thumb there, so we should all try and relax a bit.
It's nothing. You know what stresses me about this situation? Is that I think it's a joke, okay? Just one big joke. Like, kind of, why did Fiendly cross the road
Okay,
to
I think you're delirious. Here,
I'm not.
No,
it's
breathe. No.
Ow, watch the thumb.
Let's touch your thumb.
You know what? I'm fine. I'm fine. The thumb will be fine. We'll be fine. Jenny, I think we should go to YTV right now. Professor, thank you very much.
Meanwhile, two X-rayed skeletons named Twiggy and See-Through would promote the Sunday movie for that weekend, the 1996 movie Wish Upon a Star, starring Katherine Heigl of Grey's Anatomy and Danielle Harris, who was Debbie Thornberry on The Wild Thornberrys and in 4 movies in the Halloween franchise. The next day, unfortunately, the footage is currently lost, but we do have the description for it. Pat is looking and feeling weird after being bitten by the bug. He records a message to send to Fiendly Fowl. Later that day, Fiendly Fowl interrupts. He says he has received their message, and that Jenny should give up, as Pat is already under his control. Pat is getting worse. The Yokomite bite is causing him to hide in the dark corner of the studio, until he almost attacks Jenny. So we will jump to Wednesday, March 14th. With this one, we can piece together for the lost segment that Pat was completely infected by the Yokomite. The doctor creates the antidote, which knocks Pat out, and starts working on creating a suit to combat the Yokomites.
Oh, sorry about that, dear boy.
So do you think it worked?
Oh, yes, I'd imagine the effects won't take place for another couple of hours, though.
But he'll be okay for tomorrow.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Well, I guess all I can do is bring him back to YTV and hope for the best.
Ooh. And in the meantime, I can keep working on your anti-Yokomite combat suits.
So you really think these are going to protect us from all those Yokomite things?
Oh, here. Give the button a push. Boom! One Yokomite gone.
He also suggests that Pat and Jenny should look for the Queen Yokomite. Twiggy and See-Through show up again, feeling relieved about Pat's health, and promoting a spring movie the next day, the 1996 movie The Undercover Kid, also called How I Saved the President. Starring Bradley Pierce, who was Chip on Beauty and the Beast, Tails in the 90s Sonic cartoons, and Peter in the movie Jumanji. The next day, Pat is fully recovered, and they begin working on the combat suit with protective long underwear and suntan lotion that will protect them from the Yokomites' venom. They are ready to return to YTV to face this threat.
Oh, hey, well, that's great, but what about the parts of our skin that are exposed, i.e. our face?
Ooh, it's ready now. Up, 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 up. All you need to do is apply a thin coating of this to your face and hands.
Suntan lotion?
Oh. Oh, Jenny, what may appear to be Oh, whoa, what? Nemosh pot, don't eat that. What may appear to be suntan lotion actually contains a number of special ingredients that act as anti-contaminants in the event that you are contaminated.
Oh, okay. Hey, I'll tell you what, Jenny, I feel like I'm more dressed to go to the beach than I do Fiendly's lair.
You wear long underwear to the beach?
Yes, Jenny, I do.
Meanwhile, Twiggy and See-Through promote Friday's movie, the 1997 TV movie Rupert Patterson Wants to Be a Superhero. And that night, 3 premiere episodes of the CG animated series Excalibur. That Friday, the battle begins, with the Yokomites invading the office of YTV, as well as Treehouse and CMT, even entering the zone set through the toilet, where the hand would be. Even with the combat suits, they are still showing up in droves.
Oh, Jennifer! Just behind you, huh? The Yokomites, Jennifer! They're coming in from the fans! We didn't think about the fans, Jenny! Step on them! Oh, Jenny, from the other side! Come here! Okay, listen! There's no need to panic! Just step on them, Jennifer! Oh, they're coming from the roof! What is going... Jennifer, listen to me! Do not panic! What we need to do is get you higher! Get higher up, Jennifer! Stand on the bench! On the bench, Jennifer! Get up! Okay, now listen!
They escape by entering the sewers to fight him at the source. But what happens next?
Will Pat and Jenny find their way out of this most disastrous situation and triumph over the Yokomites and fiendly fowl? There's only one way to find out. Log on to www.ytv.com and watch the strange saga continue.
The real battle and the conclusion to the saga would appear as a webcomic, viewable on YTV.com. But this, unfortunately, is lost to time, as it was a webcomic that was made using Adobe Flash, which unfortunately was discontinued on web browsers in 2020. Even further, when searching for the comic through means like the web archive, the file for the comic is unfortunately lost. The rumor that circulated around this battle was that fiendly fowl would have been defeated and would turn into a bug. But there were casualties. The hand in the toilet, and the biggest casualty was former Zone co-host and host of the Weekend Block Snit station, Snit. After being introduced in 1994, becoming a staple of the Zone, only to be launched into space for a few years, and later getting the Saturday morning block. This was apparently his final act. The Professor's Notebook on YTV.com describes Professor Redundant and his partnership with Fiendly Fowl, working on a magnofiber filter with tuna deboning swivel arm at the Academy of Mad Science. A clip was found afterwards with Pat and Jenny promoting a showing of the webcomic on the Zone, but unfortunately, the footage has not surfaced. 2001 was a pretty big year for YTV, with the main theme revolving around interaction and solidifying 3 core elements: their branding, kid-friendly positioning with the Keep It Weird era, and the idea of talking with kids, not down to them, which would make the channel widely considered to be the best kids media outlet in Canada. The Yokomites invasion was one of the instances that proved that, as explained by Vice President of Marketing for YTV at the time, Susan Schaefer. Yokomites are these little green bugs, robotic 3D CG animated bugs, says Schaefer, and they invaded the network. So kids would be watching TV during the Zone, and all of a sudden, a little bug would go running across the screen, and then it intensified until the bugs were actually eating away the corner of the shows. The host played it up, asking the kids to help them rid the net of the animated pestilence, and soon thousands of emails were pouring in with suggestions. It was a really interactive idea, continues Schaefer. It finally ended up with the story finishing via comic on the website. But the net took the idea a step further. I remember the week that the Yokomites were invading, says Schaefer, as she might about a termite problem at home. Some kids were coming in for a tour, so we had individuals from our creative department dress up like mad scientist exterminators, and they joined the kids in the hallway for the tour. And signs were put up saying quarantined area. And there was yellow caution tape, so it was really bringing the idea to life for the kids. It's hard to imagine any other net going to such lengths to make a fantasy come to life for its viewers, except for maybe Much Music, as they were still using VJs at the time. The two nets also share a willingness to experiment, and both seem set on spinning off as many brand extensions as they can. This was also the final year of YTV's concert series Psychoblast, and the second Big Fun Party Mix CD. It was also the same year as the teen block Limbo, which unfortunately failed, as it couldn't get an audience and a branding identity crisis that needed to focus on getting the right programming over branding. No worries, they figured it out with their next teen block, Bionics. To say this event was a success would be an understatement. They figured out how to reach the audience and how to interact with them, while still being on brand. It had worked in the past, and it certainly worked here. And all it needed was an invasion of weird bugs. It's a shame that the end would be lost to time. When we return, we peer into the countrywide trek of Weird on Wheels. Where did it go? Where has it been? And what made its wheels weird?
Next time on the YTV Retrospective.
Zappix presents Blizzard! Who did that? Blizzard, the talking flying reindeer who makes dreams come true.
Are your antlers loose?
Yes, they are!
Check this